Welcome to Pinnacle's World Series betting preview. I'm Anthony Bruno, joined by Scott Cullen on behalf of Pinnacle. What a matchup we have in the Fall Classic. It's the Yankees and the Dodgers, two of the best teams in baseball all season long. Scott, let's not waste any time. Which team are you backing to win the World Series?
Well, it's interesting, Anthony, that in a series that pits the Dodgers and the Yankees, these two teams that spend inordinate amounts of money, that have these reputations as contenders all the time. I mean, the Yankees haven't won a World Series since 2009. The Dodgers won the World Series in 2020, but that was a shortened season, and so they don't really have this real track record of success when it comes to the World Series. And I'm sort of looking at these teams and go, I think there are a lot of flaws in both cases, which you wouldn't think when you're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on your rosters that it would be the case. As it is, I think the biggest flaw right now is the Dodgers starting pitching, and so that's why I'm siding with the Yankees. That Garrett Cole, Carlos Rodon, Clark Schmidt have all had decent starts for the Yankees in the playoffs, and I think and maybe this makes me old-fashioned. I think you still need good starting pitching to get you through. And, if the Dodgers have to resort to bullpen games, I don't think that's going to be enough.
No, listen, so Scott, I do agree with you. The Yankees pitching has definitely been better in the postseason. Even if you look at the numbers throughout the entire season, the Yankees pitching staff was just a little bit better than the Dodgers. But here's the thing, and this is the reason why I'm back in the Dodgers. It's that I just love how deep their lineup is. And listen, I totally see where you're coming from with the Yankees, especially considering the price right now. They're plus 108. The Dodgers are minus 124. So the Yankees, obviously the underdog. And it's a pretty good price considering both teams are really good offensively. And if you think that the Yankees have the edge in pitching, maybe you see a little bit of value there. But I actually think the Dodgers should be priced a little bit shorter here than minus 124. And again, it comes down to how deep their lineup is. Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Teoscar Hernandez. Then you have guys like Kike Hernandez, who is just like a postseason, I don't know, as soon as the playoffs start, that guy just turns into a different player. Tommy Edman, who just won NLCS MVP. And then the Freddie Freeman situation. He's obviously dealing with an ankle injury, but now that he has a little bit more time to recover, could we see a different Freddie Freeman in the World Series? Look, now, I do agree that the Yankees have the edge on the pitching side of things, but I think that this is going to be a very, very just high-powered series all around from an offensive standpoint. And I think a lot of runs are going to be scored, and I just have more faith in this Dodgers lineup. If this thing goes 5, 6, 7 games, that they are just going to be able to score more runs. So that's why I'm back in the Dodgers at minus 124.
See, and that's fair. I think one of the complaints about the Yankees all year has been that they basically depended on Juan Soto and Aaron Judge to do everything because Giancarlo Stanton was hurt. But now Stanton is back. He adds some real power to that lineup. And, of course, the giant elephant in the room for the Yankees is, will Aaron Judge show up for the World Series? And they've made it this far with him being a virtual non-factor in the postseason. And so if Judge shows up, to me, that's kind of the wild card is if you have those three power hitters providing some real offense for the Yankees, then they have a chance against the Dodgers. If Judge doesn't show up, then no, I don't think they have a chance. But I'm sort of casting my lot here with a guy who hit 50 plus home runs in the regular season and should be the American League MVP. That he's not just going to be a total lost cause through the entire playoffs. And if he does show up, I'm hopeful that the Yankees will be able to kind of keep pace with the Dodgers. But I agree that when I wrote about this on Pinnacle.com, that the Dodgers' depth of their lineup, that's been a huge strength, and that's how they managed to outlast both the Padres and the Mets. Is that they just had so many weapons in their lineup that Ohtani was good, but he wasn't out of this world the way we've seen him at times during the regular season. So that also hangs out there, is that if Ohtani goes nuclear, then the Yankees are going to have a hard time keeping up.
Yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say that nothing's a lock, but I think it's safe to say like Juan Soto, based on his track record and how he's been performing in the postseason, he's probably going to show up in this series. Same thing with Shohei Ohtani. It comes down to some of these other support pieces. And, I don't want to call Aaron Judge a support piece because he's freaking Aaron Judge, but he hasn't been great in the postseason. So what's Judge going to do? Is Stanton going to carry over his performance from the ALCS? Is Mookie Betts going to continue staying hot? How's Freddie Freeman going to look? It's going to come down to these other guys outside of the two megastars. And as I said, I just have more faith in this Dodgers lineup. Do I trust Jack Flaherty, Yamamoto, Walker Buehler? No, not necessarily. Now, could either of those guys throw a gem at any given moment? Absolutely. The same thing is true with Garrett Cole and Carlos Rodon. Again, the longer this series goes, I just look at this lineup. The Dodgers, they've hit a postseason high 20 home runs in 11 games. They lead the playoffs in OPS, weighted runs created plus, in run differential. You just go down the list. Even a guy like Will Smith, for example. Like, this is a guy that can pop 2 or 3 home runs in the World Series. So I just think that the depth of their lineup is going to be what puts them over the top. Speaking of which, Scott, let's now move over to World Series MVP. Now, obviously, the big names are on top of the board here. Shohei Ohtani is the betting favorite right now at plus 225 on Pinnacle. Aaron Judge right behind him at plus 400. And then you have Juan Soto at plus 500. Are you backing any of these stars to win MVP, or do you have anybody else on your mind?
Well, I think if I have to back somebody, I am going to go with one of the stars because, given the choice of who's going to step up in a relatively short series to do something noteworthy, I'm going to take Juan Soto because I think obviously he has a great track record, going well beyond just what he's done in the playoffs, but he is very productive in this year's playoffs, had 3 home runs against Cleveland. And I think, with the Dodgers, my concern about the Dodgers and their right-handed starting pitchers coming into Juan Soto, a left-handed hitter, I think that gives him, a slight edge to have a stronger series. And it just, I'm uncertain about Judge. I think for the Yankees to win, they need Judge to step up and do something. But I don't know that I would feel comfortable saying, yes, Aaron Judge is definitely the one who's going to have the best series for the Yankees, given what we've seen so far in the playoffs. So to me, I'm sort of going with Soto based on long-term track record and more recent track record, that he's been kind of the Yankees' most reliable hitter. I mean, Stanton has probably been their hottest hitter in the playoffs altogether, but I don't necessarily find Giancarlo Stanton to be the most trustworthy slugger either. So Soto's my pick. If I really had to go like longer shot, I might turn to the Yankees pitching and go for someone like Garrett Cole. I think we have him at plus 2,000 to win, and if he gives a couple really good starts, and Cole, has obviously pitched a ton of big games in his career, and so this moment shouldn't be too big for him. So I do think that there's a possibility there as well.
If I was backing the Yankees, which I am not in this series, I would 100% be on Juan Soto because, listen, I think he's their best player, and I know Aaron Judge is Aaron Judge, as we talked about. But, I mean, based on what Juan Soto has done in his postseason career, based on what he's done in this postseason, I mean, that guy is just an absolute dog in these moments. And at plus 500, I mean, listen, is there a ton of value in that? Maybe there's not, a great amount of value, but I think he would be my pick if I was backing the Yankees. Now, I am not going to go to Shohei Ohtani. I think Shohei Ohtani is incredible. I mean, there's really nothing else anyone could say about him. He's the best player in baseball. I am not going to be backing him at plus 225. I'm going a little bit further down the board. And the first guy I'm looking at is Mookie Betts. So Mookie Betts has had a phenomenal postseason, and he's actually having the best postseason of his career. So he's already won 2 World Series. He wasn't great in that Red Sox World Series. He was solid in the postseason run for the Dodgers in 2020, but right now he is having easily the best postseason of his career. He was really good in the NLDS. He was good in the NLCS. If he can carry that over, pop a couple home runs, hit 375, come up in some big moments, I think he has a very good chance to win World Series MVP. And then a little bit further down the board, Teoscar Hernandez. Okay, and before anyone laughs, let me just kind of lay this out. World Series MVP, as we know, it is just based on this series. It is not a postseason cumulative award. And with World Series MVP, even if you look at the track record of guys who have won this, there's some power hitters in there. Like if you pop 2, 3, 4 home runs, you're going to have a very good chance to win World Series MVP, even if you were terrible the entire postseason. I look at Teoscar. He was so good in the NLDS against the Padres, and then he was dreadful in the NLCS against the Mets. So if he can come into this series, hit 3 home runs, come up in some big moments, and we've seen throughout his career as well, even going back to his time with the Blue Jays. I know it was, he didn't have a ton of a huge track record with the Jays in the playoffs, but he hit 2 massive home runs in that wild card game against Seattle. Yep. This is a guy that could easily get hot and put up some big power numbers. So that's why I also like him as a sneaky option at 25-1.
Yeah, and you see the it's funny when we talk about Ohtani, we just sort of dismiss it out of hand. It's because of the price. I mean, everybody would take Shohei Ohtani if the price didn't matter, right? That his track record of performance in the past few years is just out of this world. But once you start, calculating the price as well, somebody like Teoscar Hernandez might make more sense. That there's a much greater upside, and if Ohtani hits you a couple of home runs and Teoscar hits 3 home runs, well, you have a chance there that Teoscar would pay off at a much better odds. So I support where you're going with your picks, Anthony, but unfortunately you picked the Dodgers, and that's I can't really get behind that.
Yeah, I know. I love this. I love that we're disagreeing on the sides here, Scott. And just going back to the the recent results for World Series MVP, like Steve Pearce has won this award. Jorge Soler, like clearly those 2 guys, like Soler on the Braves, Pearce on the Red Sox, those weren't their best players. Those were guys that just got hot, hit a few home runs in the World Series. Next thing you know, they're MVP. So that's kind of where my mindset is when I'm looking at a guy like Teoscar. But listen, I think in general, this is going to be a great series. I think we're going to see a lot of runs scored. I'm not sure how either pitching staff is going to perform, to be honest. I think it's going to be tough to navigate both of these lineups. And I hope we kind of see, a back and forth, lot of home runs. I think that would be great for baseball and just great for us just watching for entertainment purposes.
Well, and look, this is a series that has a bunch of future Hall of Famers in it, right? And the spotlight that you're going to get between New York and Los Angeles and all these superstar players, it has a chance to be, a classic. And so I'm hopeful that that's what we get. But I'm also hopeful that the Yankees pitching keeps those Dodgers in check.
So that is going to do it. Scott is on the Yankees. I'm on the Dodgers. You heard our World Series MVP picks. The next thing you should do is go to Pinnacle Sportsbook to check out our odds, because we have incredible odds for the World Series, whether you're betting on main markets, player props, World Series MVP. Chances are we are going to have the best odds compared to the competition. It's going to be a great series. Hope you enjoy watching it. Best of luck with all your bets throughout the entire series. And until next time, we'll be back with some more videos. Maybe not baseball, but stay tuned for our NFL videos that are coming up between Scott and I. But like I said, enjoy the World Series. Best of luck with your bets. And we will chat very, very soon. Remember, though, to bet smart and bet Pinnacle.